In the quaint, sleepy neighborhood where Danny lived, houses stood shoulder to shoulder like old friends sharing secrets. Danny's home, an inherited relic from a bygone era, was nestled among them, its walls echoing with memories of generations past. It was in this house, amidst a labyrinth of dusty relics in the attic, that Danny discovered the tape recorder. The attic was a time capsule, each object a fragment of history, but the tape recorder, with its worn buttons and faded exterior, immediately caught Danny's attention. It was an anachronism, a relic from a different era, starkly out of place amidst the modern trinkets of Danny's life. There was a magnetic pull to it, a sense of mystery that beckoned Danny closer. Danny, always the introvert, found comfort in the solitude of the attic. Their fascination with antiques wasn't just a hobby, it was a bridge to the past, a way to connect with the generations that had walked the halls of this old house before them. So, when their fingers grazed the cool, metallic surface of the tape recorder, it was with a reverence for the stories it might hold. The device felt heavy in Danny's hands, imbued with an inexplicable weight that seemed to transcend its physical form. It was as if the tape recorder was a vessel, cradling the echoes of forgotten conversations. And there, nestled within its ancient frame, was a tape, unassuming yet foreboding, labeled simply as Conversations. The label was written in a hurried scrawl, the ink faded with time. It piqued Danny's curiosity. Who had used this recorder? What conversations had it captured within its magnetic ribbons? The mystery was irresistible. With a mix of excitement and trepidation, Danny carried the tape recorder down to their room, away from the dust and shadows of the attic. Plugging it into an old adapter, they felt a shiver run down their spine. This was it, a moment of revelation, a peek into a hidden chapter of history. As the play button was pressed, the tape recorder whirred to life, its gears groaning as if waking from a long slumber. Then came a voice, unmistakably Danny's, but the words were foreign, discussing events, secrets, and emotions that Danny had no memory of. It was disconcerting, hearing their own voice speaking of things unknown, of conversations never had. At first, Danny laughed it off as a bizarre joke, perhaps a strange recording they had made and forgotten. But as the tape continued, the laughter died in their throat. The conversations were detailed, intimate, discussing aspects of Danny's life that no one else could know. Each word, each sentence, was a mirror reflecting a life that Danny had never lived. Confusion turned to fear. The room, once a sanctuary, now felt oppressive, as if the walls themselves were closing in, listening to the echo of the tape. Danny's heart raced, their mind a whirlwind of questions with no answers. What was this tape recorder? Where had these conversations come from? And most importantly, what did they mean? The tape ended with a soft click, but the silence that followed was anything but peaceful. It was a haunting void, filled with the whispers of unheard words, the echoes of a conversation that had never taken place. And in that silence, Danny realized that the tape recorder was more than just a relic. It was a mystery that they couldn't ignore, a puzzle that they had to solve. So began Danny's journey into the unknown, a journey that would unravel the fabric of their reality, a journey that started with an old tape recorder and a conversation never had. In the days that followed the chilling discovery, the tape recorder became the center of Danny's world. The device sat ominously on their desk, an enigma wrapped in rusted metal. Each time Danny looked at it, a mix of dread and intrigue churned within them. It was impossible to ignore, its presence a constant reminder of the unexplained mystery it held. Compelled by a need to understand, Danny inserted the tape once more. The room filled with their own voice, discussing matters so personal and so detailed that it felt like eavesdropping on a stranger's life. Yet, it was unmistakably Danny's voice. The topics ranged from mundane daily activities to deeply personal confessions and fears. But none of it was familiar to Danny. These conversations had never happened, at least not in the life Danny remembered. The gravity of the situation dawned on Danny. This wasn't a prank or a misremembered recording. Something far more complex and disturbing was at play. They felt a shiver crawl up their spine, a sense of being watched, as if the recorder itself was an observer, chronicling a parallel existence. Determined to unravel this mystery, Danny decided to investigate the origins of the tape recorder. A search through the house yielded no clues. It was as if the device had simply materialized in the attic, devoid of history or context. In the absence of answers, Danny turned to the internet, diving into forums and message boards, seeking anyone who might have had a similar experience. Hours turned into days, with no lead too small, no story too far-fetched. Yet, nothing came close to the bizarre nature of their situation. As Danny delved deeper into the mystery, the tape recorder continued its eerie transmissions. New tapes appeared within the device, as if by magic, each labeled with the same crude handwriting. Conversations. These new recordings were even more disturbing. They detailed interactions with friends and family, conversations that Danny had no memory of, events that never occurred. The tapes spoke of arguments, secrets shared, and promises made, none of which Danny recognized. The impact of these revelations began to seep into Danny's everyday life. Friends and family started to act strangely around them. There were mentions of discussions and meetings Danny couldn't recall, promises Danny never made. It was as though the tapes were not just recordings of an unknown past, but were actively rewriting Danny's reality. The isolation was palpable. Danny's friends began to distance themselves, citing strange behaviors in conversations that Danny had no part in. Even their family, usually the bedrock of support, seemed wary and confused. Danny felt a growing chasm between themselves and the world, a barrier erected by the enigmatic words spilling from the tape recorder. Sleep became elusive, haunted by the voices on the tapes. Danny's dreams were filled with shadowy figures and whispered secrets, a reflection of the growing paranoia that gnawed at their sanity. The line between reality and the recorded conversations began to blur, each playing off the other in a macabre dance. The once familiar rooms of the house now felt alien, as if reshaped by the unseen hand of the tape recorder. Danny's sanctuary had become a prison, the walls echoing with the sound of a life unrecognizable, a life dictated by the conversations that seemed to know more about Danny. In this labyrinth of doubt and fear, the tape recorder sat, an enigmatic sentinel, guarding the gateway to an unknown realm, a realm where Danny's voice spoke of things never lived, a realm that was slowly, inexorably, becoming their reality. As the chasm between Danny's perceived reality and the one woven by the tape recorder's eerie recordings widened, a sense of desperation took hold. Danny was no longer just seeking answers, they were fighting to reclaim their life from the grip of an unknown force. The mysterious tapes continued to emerge in the recorder, each revealing more intimate and unsettling details. The conversations now spanned beyond Danny's personal life, delving into hidden fears and forbidden desires. It was as if the recorder was peeling back layers of Danny's soul, exposing secrets even they were unaware of. Determined to confront this escalating intrusion, Danny embarked on a meticulous investigation into each conversation recorded on the tapes. They analyzed the content, hoping to find inconsistencies or clues that could unravel the mystery. But the more they listened, the more disoriented they became. The conversations were frighteningly plausible, woven with threads of truth and fiction in a way that made distinguishing between the two nearly impossible. As Danny's obsession with the tapes grew, so did the isolation. Friends began to outright avoid them, disturbed by the bizarre allegations of conversations and encounters Danny had no memory of. Their family, too, grew increasingly distant, troubled by the inexplicable changes in Danny's behavior and the strange accusations stemming from the recordings. The situation took a darker turn when Danny discovered a new tape labeled The Confession. This recording was different. It was a monologue, Danny's voice speaking in a chilling, emotionless tone, confessing to a crime that Danny had no recollection of. The details were vivid, the narrative disturbingly coherent. It painted Danny as someone they didn't recognize, someone capable of darkness and deceit. This revelation was a tipping point. Danny felt their grip on reality slipping, the boundary between their life and the life on the tapes, blurring into a nightmarish amalgam. The fear that these tapes were not just recordings but manifestations of an alternate reality began to take root in their mind. Haunted by the implications of the confession, Danny's mental state deteriorated. Paranoia crept in, whispering that perhaps they were losing their mind, that maybe the tapes were a symptom of a deeper, more sinister psychological issue. The reflection in the mirror began to look like a stranger, a doppelganger living a parallel life captured on the tapes. In this vortex of fear and confusion, a new tape appeared. This one was labeled The Meeting. The recording detailed a conversation where Danny's voice arranged a meeting at an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of town. The details were specific: a date, a time, a location. It was alleged, concrete and undeniable. Driven by a concoction of fear, curiosity, and a desperate need for answers, Danny decided to go to the warehouse. It was a gamble, a leap into the unknown, but Danny was past the point of caution. They needed to face whatever was on the other end of these recordings, to confront the entity or force that was hijacking their life. The decision was made. Danny prepared for the journey, a mix of determination and dread fueling their resolve. The tape recorder, the catalyst of this descent into madness, sat silently on the desk, its purpose served, its message delivered. It was time for Danny to step out of the shadows of doubt and fear, to seek the truth in the cold, tangible reality of the abandoned warehouse. And so, under sky heavy with ominous clouds, Danny set out to the designated meeting place, each step taking them further from the world they knew, and deeper into the heart of the mystery that had consumed their life. The warehouse loomed in the distance, a silent sentinel waiting to reveal the secrets of the conversations, and the fate that awaited Danny. The journey to the warehouse felt surreal, like traversing through the pages of a story that Danny had never written, but somehow knew by heart. The neighborhood faded into the rearview mirror, replaced by the industrial outskirts of the town, where buildings stood like forgotten monoliths of a bygone era. The warehouse was an imposing structure, its walls scarred by time and neglect. As Danny approached, the air grew thick with a palpable sense of foreboding. The wind whispered through broken windows, carrying with it the echoes of 1,000 unspoken secrets. Stepping inside, Danny was engulfed by darkness. The only light was the faint, eerie glow of the moon filtering through the cracks in the walls and ceiling. The vast space was a labyrinth of shadows and silence, a mausoleum of forgotten memories. In the heart of this desolation, Danny found a single chair facing a small table. On the table lay the tape recorder, its red recording light glowing ominously in the gloom. Beside it, a new tape labeled The Truth lay waiting. With trembling hands, Danny picked up the tape and inserted it into the recorder. A deep breath, a moment of hesitation, and then the play button was pressed. The familiar sound of the tape whirring to life shattered the silence. The voice that came through the speakers was Danny's, but it spoke with a chilling authority and depth that Danny didn't recognize. It revealed that the entity behind the tapes was not of this world, a being that fed on human experiences and emotions, using the recorder as a conduit to tap into the essence of its victims. The voice explained that Danny's reality had been altered, manipulated by the entity to create a tapestry of false memories and stolen moments. The conversations, the isolation, the growing madness all were the work of this entity, an elaborate trap to ensnare Danny's mind. As the revelation sank in, a shadow detached itself from the darkness. It was a formless figure, a mere wisp of smoke and shadow, yet its presence was overwhelming. It spoke in the same voice that had come through the recorder, confirming the truth of the tape. Danny, gripped by a cocktail of horror and fascination, confronted the entity. Questions poured forth. Why, Danny? What was the purpose of this torment? The entity spoke of its ancient existence, of its need to feed on the complexities of human emotion and psyche. Danny was not its first victim, nor would they be the last. The entity offered Danny a grim ultimatum: surrender to the altered reality it had crafted or fight against an inexorable descent into madness. The choice was a cruel one. Acceptance meant living a lie, resistance meant battling an unseen, omnipotent foe. In a moment of defiance, Danny refused to yield. The entity, amused by this show of resilience, warned that the struggle would be relentless. The tapes, the altered memories, the shadow of doubt, they would persist, a constant reminder of the entity's power. With those final words, the entity dissolved into the darkness, leaving Danny alone in the warehouse. The tape recorder, now silent, sat on the table, a symbol of the battle that lay ahead. Danny left the warehouse with a heavy heart. The night air felt colder, the world around them more distant. The encounter had changed everything. The life they had known was now a twisted maze of truth and deception, reality and illusion. The drive home was a blur, a journey through a landscape that felt both familiar and alien. The house, once a haven, now seemed like a stage set for a play in which Danny was both actor and audience. As they lay in bed that night, the echoes of the entity's words filled the room. The fight for their sanity had just begun, a fight against an adversary that dwelled in the shadows of their own mind. The tape recorder, silent and ominous, sat on the desk, a constant reminder of the unseen war that Danny was now part of. In the aftermath of the harrowing encounter at the warehouse, Danny's life became a surreal blend of reality and the twisted fabrications of the tape recorder. The world around them felt altered, tainted by the knowledge of the entity's existence and its ability to warp perception and memory. The days that followed were a struggle to maintain a semblance of normalcy. Danny returned to their daily routine, but each interaction was laced with doubt. Conversations with friends and family were strained, tainted by the fear that any word could be a threat in the entity's web of deception. The tape recorder remained a constant presence in Danny's life, a symbol of the ongoing battle for control over their own reality. New tapes appeared sporadically, each a malicious echo of conversations and experiences that blurred the line between truth and illusion. Despite the overwhelming sense of paranoia, Danny began to find a measure of resilience within themselves. The knowledge that the entity was feeding off their emotional responses fueled a determined effort to resist its influence. Danny clung to the fragments of their life that remained untouched, using them as anchors to hold on to their sense of self. As the entity's manipulations became more aggressive, so too did Danny's resolve to fight back. They started documenting their daily activities, keeping detailed journals as a way to counteract the false memories being implanted by the tapes. Each written word was a testament to their defiance, a record of their true experiences untouched by the entity's influence. The isolation that had once been a source of despair now became a tool for introspection and strength. Danny spent long hours in solitude, reflecting on their situation and strategizing ways to outmaneuver the entity. In these moments of quiet resistance, a deeper understanding of the entity's nature began to emerge. It was not omnipotent, its power was rooted in the manipulation of perception, reliant on Danny's emotional responses to sustain itself. Emboldened by this realization, Danny began to actively challenge the narratives presented in the tapes. They confronted friends and family with the truth, explaining the bizarre nature of their situation. While some were skeptical, others began to see the inconsistencies and offered support, helping to reinforce Danny's grasp on reality. The entity, sensing Danny's growing resistance, intensified its efforts. The tapes became more elaborate, weaving intricate lies designed to break Danny's spirit. But with each new tape, Danny's determination only strengthened. They became adept at discerning the falsities, using their journals and the support of their loved ones as a bulwark against the entity's attacks. Through this relentless struggle, Danny forged a new sense of identity, one defined not by the whispers of an unseen foe, but by their own indomitable will. The fear and paranoia that had once threatened to consume them were now catalysts for growth, for the forging of a self that could withstand the darkest of manipulations. As the weeks turned into months, the entity's presence began to wane. The tapes appeared less frequently, and their content lost the potency it once had. It seemed as though the entity was retreating, its hold on Danny's reality weakening under the relentless pressure of their resistance. The battle was far from over, but Danny had gained crucial ground. They had proven to themselves and to the entity that they were not a passive victim, but a force to be reckoned with. The tape recorder, once a source of dread, now served as a reminder of the strength and resilience Danny had discovered within themselves. Months passed since the night at the warehouse, and the shadow of the entity's influence gradually receded from Danny's life. The tape recorder, once a harbinger of confusion and fear, had become silent, a dormant relic of a surreal chapter in Danny's life. Danny's reality, once fractured and malleable under the entity's manipulations, had solidified. The relentless documentation of their life, the support of friends and family who had come to understand the bizarre nature of their plight, and, most importantly, Danny's unwavering determination to resist, had all contributed to reclaiming their life from the brink of chaos. Yet, the victory was not without its scars. Danny emerged from the ordeal changed. The innocence of accepting reality at face value was lost, replaced by a cautious scrutiny of every experience, every memory. Trust, once given freely, was now offered sparingly, tempered by the knowledge of how easily reality could be twisted. The tapes, those cryptic messengers of an unfathomable intellect, no longer appeared. The recorder sat unused, a relic of a battle fought in the depths of Danny's mind. Its silence was a welcome reprieve, but also a haunting reminder that the entity, while dormant, might still be lurking in the unseen corners of reality. Danny often pondered the nature of the entity. Was it a malevolent force, a cosmic trickster, or simply a being beyond human comprehension, seeking sustenance in the only way it knew? The answers, like the entity itself, remained elusive, shadows dancing just beyond the reach of understanding. Life gradually returned to a semblance of normalcy, but the experience had left an indelible mark on Danny. They found solace in the mundane, beauty in the simplicity of unaltered reality. Friends and family, once sources of potential deception, were now pillars of strength, their support having been instrumental in Danny's struggle. The experience also ignited a newfound purpose in Danny. They began to reach out to others who had encountered inexplicable phenomena, offering support and understanding. Danny's story, once a solitary journey through madness, became a beacon for those navigating the murky waters of their own unexplained experiences. As time went on, the memory of the entity and its tapes faded into the background of Danny's life, a surreal chapter in a story that continued to unfold in unexpected ways. But the lessons learned from that encounter remained. Danny had stared into the abyss of an altered reality, and emerged with a deeper appreciation for the fragile tapestry of human experience. One evening, as Danny sat pondering the journey they had undergone, the phone rang. The voice on the other end was familiar, eerily so. It was Danny's own voice, a ghostly echo from a past that had been manipulated and twisted. The message was simple, a chilling reminder that the entity's reach was long, and its game far from over. "All is not as it seems," the voice said, and then the line went dead. The call sent a shiver down Danny's spine, a resurgence of the paranoia that had once threatened to consume them. But this time, Danny was prepared. They had faced the unknown before and emerged stronger. Whatever challenges lay ahead, Danny knew they had the strength and resilience to face them. The tape recorder, silent on the shelf, seemed to watch as Danny contemplated this new development. It was a reminder of the past, but also a testament to the journey Danny had undertaken, a journey that had taught them the true strength that lies within the human spirit. And so, with a sense of resolve stealing their nerves, Danny faced the uncertainty of the future, ready to confront whatever mysteries lay hidden in the tapestry of reality. The entity, the tapes, the altered memories, they were all part of a larger puzzle, one that Danny was determined to solve, no matter what secrets it held.